This is the final of the Fawley Challenge Cup between the Leander Club and the Henley Rowing Club, two very local rivals who both train on this piece of water. They will know it very well, but they won't know the nerves jangling and the conditions and the situation they find themselves in today. This is new territory, racing in the final of this Fawley Challenge Cup.
This is one of my picks for the day for racing. I think it's going to be a really tight one here. Both of these crews raced each other at the National Schools Regatta back in May. It was actually the first time they'd both come up against each other, and it was a national championships. And there it was the crew from Henley that did win, but Leander, a couple of changes in the crew, or one big change actually for them. And I know that they are excited to see what they can do against this national champion crew.
Well, the crews are on the start line now, as you say. The crew from Henley won at National Schools, just ahead of the crew from Leander. Let's see if Leander have done enough to make a turnaround possible, as we see the small corrections in steering. Joe Long in the bow seat of that Henley quad on our right, just moving the boat around. The umpire will be watching. We'll make a call as to when they think the crews are ready. The conditions pretty perfect up at the top of the course. You see the crew squeezing away, really nice and tidy. Sometimes you see mistakes with blade work in quads because there's an awful lot going on in the start, but these two certainly getting through the first 10 strokes or so very nicely and cleanly.
Yeah, very clean. It's quite tricky in the quadruple sculls, another boat where the steers person is within the boat. They don't have a cox, and all of these athletes under 18 years old in the Fawley Challenge Cup.
And really fantastic steering at the moment from the Henley crew on the right of the shot. They stayed really close to the island. They'll be feeling brave now because they'll see those red buoys out the corner of their eye, and they'll know these booms are coming up. They're tight on them. They really are tight on them. But will they just be confident to leave it in there and make sure they go in the straightest line they can? It looks like they've made a small correction, and they're right in there. They come away from the booms now. I hope that's not going to slow them down, as we see Leander on the far side moving pretty smoothly.
Both of these crews should be really confident steering this course. You've already mentioned, Greg, both locals to this piece of water. They'll have been practicing on this all year round, ready for this moment, ready for the final of Henley Royal Regatta, to put it all into practice. And it's the Leander Club crew that has put in a fantastic start to get themselves half a length up almost on Henley. And I think that piece of steering, Greg, actually has impacted their speed.
Well, the crew from Leander have moved nicely away from their point of view. We both had a chat with their coach, James Loveday, today. This morning. He was excited about this crew. He's in his third year at Leander Club, and he said this crew has not yet had to go the entire distance this week. They've had some good racing. They've stepped on and stepped up and up through the regatta, and they know they're going to have to step up and take it all the way today against this fantastic crew from Henley Royal Club.
Yeah, the Leander crew actually had to race their B boat yesterday in the semi-final, which is very tough going up against your fellow teammates. But again, knowing that you're up against your reserve boat, I think they were pretty confident for a pass into this final here on the Sunday of Henley Royal Regatta. But they will know that this Henley crew are a strong bunch of guys here. On the Buxted station on the left-hand side of your picture. I know that James Loveday had said that the one thing that Henley had was they've got a really big engine in that crew that can get them down the course. They're very, very powerful. Well,
they're powerful athletes. Big, strong lads in that Henley crew. Looking down, the average height is 194 centimetres. We're talking about 6'5", so they're big lads. They're moving the boat pretty well. The crews came together a little bit earlier, but they've come apart nicely here, clearly on their stations. Great steering from both the steers people in the crews, and moving well. I think Leander have really done well to get themselves into this position off the start. That was all executed by a very straight line, steered through the island, and they're now almost 3/4 of a length up on Henley, which is a bit of a turnaround from the National Schools Regatta. It was very, very close there, but the change that Leander has made, bringing Stephen Hughes into the 2 seats since that regatta to give themselves an extra bit of speed. They thought he was going really, really well and deserved a chance to gain a place in this crew, and it looks like that change has worked really well for them, because they're now sitting up there in the lead, looking back at the Henley crew, which they won't have done yet this season. Well, both these quads sculling really nicely on these lovely looking conditions, and you can just see how well trained they are, how well drilled they are. Both of the quads
look pretty tidy with their blade work. I'm just trying to look in that Leander boat. Are they starting to go slightly deep with those blades? Are they going to tie up in any way?
Yeah, they are starting to just dig the blades in there. The ideal sort of placement is you just about cover the spoon of the blade, which is the actual main orbit of the blade. You can see there the water's going up the shaft of the blade ever so slightly, which does create drag and slow the boat down, and Henley have actually managed to come back ever so slightly. It's now about 2/3 of a length, maybe even closing on half a length to Leander.
So the Leander crew now need to resist this push from Henley Rowing Club. I guess they've thought about it. They thought the third quarter is going to be the chance to move, and Henley Rowing Club have stayed in there. Now they're going to have to try and push on here. Coming down towards Remenham Club, they'll know the exact marks, the exact distances. But again, there's a rhythm in that Leander Club that we look at, and it looks like the blades drop in, and then there's a real kind of surge where the boat's picking up and moving towards us. The blade work in the Henley boat on the left just looks slightly less tidy to me. Might be because they're dark blue blades, but I think they're just not quite as well drilled, not quite as together.
Yeah, and it still is a very impressive display from both crews. We've got to remember how young these athletes are, all still at school, all still at college, and this is just beautiful to see from the drone shots how technically proficient both of these crews are. And we've got a couple of homegrown athletes in these crews. I know certainly that Miles Devereaux in the Leander crew actually was identified as a cox when he first joined at 15 years old, homegrown by Leander, wasn't deemed big enough to be a rower, and here he is racing in the final of Henley Royal Regatta 3 years later.
As you say, homegrown talent, these two crews based on this Henley stretch. Edward Roy sits in the 3 seat of the Henley Rowing Club crew. He actually lives within sight of the Henley finish line. He's lived in Henley all his life, but now he's finding his crew getting pulled in, catching the wake slightly of the Leander Club crew, because you can see Henley Rowing Club have come a little bit off their station, and it's going to be very hard for them to make a move and come back. They look like they've made a correction now to try and find some clear water, but they're going to have to do something pretty special now.
Yeah, it will be something pretty spectacular if this Henley Rowing Club crew manage to get themselves back into contention. They've got a lot of work, they've got a length to make up with about 30 strokes to go, and a little glance there by Miles Devereaux, who we were just talking about in the 3 seat, to see where the finish line is. Wow, what a performance from Leander.
Well, Miles Devereaux needs to just stick with Tim Eilers now, sat in front of him. Tim was ill in 2018, had to not race at Henley Royal Regatta. Here he is in 2019, leading the crew from the stroke seat. They're coming to that line, they're going to cross the line, and that's a clean win for Leander Club in the Fawley Challenge Cup over their local rivals from Henley Rowing Club. And what a race that was. Well, you can see what it means to Miles Devereaux. Look at that celebration. Stephen Hughes behind him, Alex Milne in the bow seat. And look how happy they are with that.
Yes, so delighted with that win, and he was that steering from Henley that maybe just cost them a bit of boat speed off the start, and that sets you up for the entire race, Greg. So it gave Leander that initial advantage to get themselves cleanly down the track, and they held it at that distance the whole way.
Well, let's remember these are junior boys scullers. What fantastic work they've done. They steered those boats as well as they could. I thought they were really brave in that Henley crew, putting it by the island, but maybe it's just disturbed them a little bit. Leander got that lead, they worked hard for it, and once they had it, they weren't going to give it up, and they took it all the way down to the line. So this will now see a change in the commentary box as Camilla Hadden leaves, and I am joined by Adrian Cassidy alongside me. And Adrian, we've already had 3 great races.
Good morning. It's been absolutely fantastic, hasn't it? Really some humdingers